Hello, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to become a better miniature painter. Now before we begin, I just want to say that, I don't consider myself like an amazing painter. I do think I'm quite good. I've been painting for quite a while, sort of many years now. And these tips are sort of what's helped me become a better miniature painter. So, I'm not going to sit here and brag saying that I'm really good. And in order to become a great miniature painter like me, you have to do these tips. That's not what this video is about. These are just a few tips that have helped me become a better miniature painter, and hopefully, some of you guys watching, especially people who are new to painting, hopefully some of you guys will take these tips on board and they'll help you in the same way they've helped me. So I'll begin. I've got a list just on the computer, and I do apologise if you can see a reflection just on my glasses. So the first thing is have a comfortable setup. So I paint at a desk, so quite a good height for me to paint. I can get my elbows on the desk and paint at eye level quite easily. It's good to have a good setup. I know GW came out with these lap tray things, and I don't know how anyone can paint really well on something like that. I certainly would find it a lot more difficult. So have a good painting area. It's always difficult to find space, I know, but just a small desk or computer desk that you can paint at, or you feel comfortable with. It helps to have a nice chair as well, so you don't feel too uncomfortable. So yeah, if you can just paint and feel comfortable at the same time, that'll certainly help improve your painting. Also, I highly recommend getting a lamp. This is a daylight lamp. This one was just I got off Amazon for about £20. It's got a little, it's hard to show on camera, it's quite big, but it's got a little touch button on there. But a good daylight lamp. Certainly you want daylight bulbs more than just regular light bulbs, because they give off a yellowy tinge, and you want more of a just sort of more natural daylight. So I highly recommend something like that. For me, lighting is really key when it comes to painting well, and without a lamp I cannot paint sort of half as good as my normal standard. I just find it so much harder to see what I'm doing, basically, and having a lamp will just make things a lot clearer, and yeah, certainly make painting a hell of a lot easier. So highly recommend getting a lamp. Next, another thing that I highly recommend is a palette. Now palettes can be, they come in all shapes, sizes, and you can just have anything like old margarine tub lids, ice cream tub lids, glossy paper, palette paper. GW do palette paper. I've got some lying about here. I've got one I've been using. It's right in state. Something's dropped on the floor. But, yeah, I'm probably gonna change that for a new one, because this one's had a lot of use. But just having a palette is vital, because also I highly recommend that you thin your paints, especially when using GW paints, and especially when using base paints. For pigment in a lot of GW paints are just far too thick for what they're really required for. So I always water them down on a palette. A little bit of water's usually fine. If you're thinning down something like metallics, then definitely use something like the Mayan Medium. The Mayan Medium, I think everyone knows what it looks like, but yeah, other thinner mediums are available. I've got Vallejo's one kicking about as well. But yeah, sort of get into the habit of thinning your paints down. Always do 2 or 3 thin coats rather than a thick coat, especially for your base coat. If you just get any part of your painting smooth, it's the base coat, and that's what you'll accomplish by thinning your paints. So it does require a bit of patience, and patience is certainly key if you want to become a better miniature painter, but the results are so worth it. If you don't have the patience, then maybe look into airbrushing, because you can get some lovely smooth base coats very quickly with airbrushing, but this is all about just regular brush painting. But yeah, 2 thin coats will make a massive difference on the model as a whole. 2 or 3 thin coats for your base coat. If you can get that bit right, then the rest of the model's going to look pretty good. But really, just water down your paints all the time, no matter what you're painting, base coats, details, etc. And you'll just find, the end results will be certainly worth it. So yeah, highly recommend doing that. Thin them down on a palette. Use an old brush as well. I just use an old standard GW brush. where I transfer paint onto the palette, and then I'll use my detail brush afterwards. This is just to help maintain the brush, and that is my next point on this video, is to look after your brushes. Especially detail brushes. Things like base coat brushes maybe not so much, but when it comes to your detail brushes, you need to look after them as much as possible. First thing to do, just to stop them from getting too badly damaged, is to when you use a palette, just dip your brush in a little bit. You only want to go up to about no more than halfway on the brush. Secondly is obviously rinse them out in clean water thoroughly after every use, which, you know, it goes without saying really. And lastly, if you can, get some of this stuff. If you watched other painters on YouTube, you've probably seen this stuff been mentioned. This is gold. This stuff is amazing. This is brush cleaner and preserver brush soap. Mine's in the right state, but I do have another one that I normally use. But yeah, this stuff, if you ever get paint stuck in your paint bristles, this stuff will get out. There are videos online of how to use it, but it's pretty straightforward really. Just damp your brush, put some soap on it, and just rub the soap against your palm with the brush, and that will normally get the paint out of the bristles, and that will also help you maintain a fine point on your brush. You know, in painting, I know there's that saying that a good workman never blames his tools, but in painting, you have to be a very good painter to paint with crappy brushes. So yeah, always try and look after your brushes and so they can maintain a good point and maintain their bristles. Especially with stuff like I got this GW Artificial brush. That's about a £12 brush. You know, I don't want to ruin that very quickly. So yeah, when it comes to brushes, there's many different makes out there. You don't have to use expensive brushes, but I do recommend the sable brushes over the synthetics when it comes to detail work at least. But you know, on the whole, you can get away with a lot of cheaper brushes as long as you do look after them, and they will last. So next up is to and I mentioned this in my previous video about motivation, is to learn new tips and techniques. Now I always find learning stuff gets me motivated to paint, because I want to try them out and learn how to paint different ways or different techniques, just different items such as faces, horns, etc. They're the two that I struggle with the most really. But by watching videos online, seeing how other people achieve their effects, and there's some great painters on YouTube. You just search for painting tutorials, you'll see loads of great painters. GW put out their own painting videos, and they're actually really good. I really enjoy them. They're quite basic when it comes to their techniques, but the results are certainly really good. And if you're someone who's just starting out painting, then I highly recommend just following their steps, because if you get the smooth base coats, and then they usually in their painting is a smooth base coat, then an ink wash, and then sort of layers and highlights, and they're sort of like, you know, if you want to get some really good tabletop standard painting, following their steps is a really good way to go. And there's other great painters online as well who do some airbrush work, more advanced techniques and such like that, and you know, there's so many great resources out there. They're all worth a watch, and you pick up new stuff and then you try them out and you practice, and you just practice, and you'll certainly see improvements as you go along. So yeah, certainly recommend learning tips online. I personally would like to start doing my own painting videos as well for little bits and pieces, so look out for them in the future. I'm just trying to get together a list of what I'd like to do in these painting videos, but I'm always open to suggestions as well, so if anyone has any, please leave them in the comments below. So next is to paint when you actually feel like painting. If you're not in the mood to paint and you're sort of forcing yourself to paint, sometimes you might have to hit a deadline for a tournament or something like that, where you don't really have a choice, like you have to paint by deadline. It's hard to paint at your best if you do have a deadline to reach. So but it's not always unavoidable. But if you can help it, then sort of paint when you really feel like you're in the mood, and that will certainly reflect through on your painting. If you're just trying to rush something to get done, then naturally, you're never going to paint at your best. And that just goes for anything really. So yeah, paint when you feel comfortable. It's another tip. And then lastly, what goes without saying really is just practice. Just practice. I've been painting now for years. I can't even remember the number of years. But I was about 11 when I started this hobby, and although I've been in and out of the hobby, especially in terms of gaming, but sort of painting I've always done painting mostly. Certainly I haven't gone longer than a few months without painting anything, I don't think, more than years. Not that I can remember, but certainly recently I paint all the time really now. So yeah, just keep practicing. You'll get to a level where you feel quite comfortable with, and sometimes I know that I can paint better than like 99% of the stuff I do paint, but I normally just save my best for like display pieces or Primarks, etc., stuff like that. But you get to a level where you can sort of paint quite a good tabletop standard quite easily. It all just goes back to some of these tips that I've shared today for me personally, just thinning paints and stuff like that and taking the time. It's good to sort of get into the habit of having a steady hand as well. You can achieve this. I see a lot of painters, and I never used to be in this habit, but I get into the habit now of having both elbows on the table, holding them up at eye level, and I keep my arms steady. Sometimes you can like use one of your fingers or a thumb to rest against the model, and that keeps the rest of your hand steady as well. So learning little tricks like that can also help improve your painting. But that's it really for this video. So just to recap, have a setup where you're comfortable to paint with, and have some good lighting. Thin your paints and use a palette. Always look after your brushes to maintain the fine tips on the brush. Learn new tips online, and paint when you feel comfortable. And then lastly, just practice. So I hope this video has been useful for some of you. Even if one person picks up some tips from this video and it helps them improve their painting, then I think it's worth making a video for. So as always, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.